We now call to order the June 2nd meeting of the Cherokee County Board of School Trustees. We ask that you please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for our invocation by Mr. Surratt. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Father God, we thank you for another day you have blessed us to see. God, we thank you for a safe school year that we've had. We pray that you protect our kids this summer, God, as they are enjoying their break from school. Father, we pray you continue showering down your blessings upon our community, our teachers, our staff, and our students. God, we thank you for your son, Jesus, who hung, bled, and died for us, but most importantly, he got up with all power in his hand. And because of that, God, we know that anything is possible. We'll always give your name honor, glory, and praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. At this time, I ask for a motion to approve the board agenda.
I make a motion we approve the board agenda for June 2nd, 2025.
Motion, Ms. Gallman.
Second.
Second, Ms. Shackelford. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Next item, honors, accomplishments, and commendations. Dr. Fox.
Sure.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. White, ladies and gentlemen of the board. This year we've had great success in GHS athletics. This year we've had sports and/or individuals to participate in state championship matches and/or tournaments, and were able to place within the top 10 of their respective sports and events. And we have some all-state individuals as well in their respective sports. First, we'd like to recognize this year was our first year for a sanctioned girls wrestling team, and it's our second year for a girl state champion in Serenity State. Next, we will have our boys. Mr. Tyler Moore. Tyler finished third in his weight class this year, and he was an all-state selection for boys wrestling. Mr. Drew Ellis. Drew Ellis was an all-region selection this year. He is a senior, and he finished 7th overall in the state in his weight class. Congratulations, Russ.
Congratulations.
Next up, we have girls tennis. Miss Lauren Mathis. Lauren was our Region 258 Tennis Girls Player of the Year. Lauren also participated in the state singles tournament this year, and Lauren was also an all-state selection. Lauren Mathis.
Parents, if y'all need a good picture, don't be afraid to walk up here and get it.
Congratulations, Lauren.
Next up, girls basketball. Miss Shariah Harris. Shariah was Region 258 Girls Basketball Player of the Year. Shariah was also an all-state selection, and Shariah also scored her 1,000th point, career point against Birds High School. Dr. White, if you will, I would like to present Shariah with this plaque congratulating her on her milestone for her 1,000th point, January 31st, 2025 push through.
Wow. wonderful job. Wonderful.
Next up, we have swim. We have a boys 200-yard freestyle relay team who qualified in the state tournament this year. First up, we have Parker Childers. Larry. Y'all gonna have to forgive me because I can't say his last name, Ernesto. This team also defeated Dorman earlier on this year. Dorman is has a pretty good relay team, and they upset them in a meet earlier this year. This relay team also broke records for relay time outside of one during this season. Parker is the only senior in this group, and hopefully this group can go back to the state next year.
Congratulations, guys.
Next up, we have track and field. Ms. Caitlin Howells. Caitlin had a great year this year in the 200 meters. She won a lot of meets. She was able to participate in the state qualifier where she placed 7th in her division, in her heat for the girls 200 meters. Ms. Caitlin Howells.
Congratulations.
Ms. Caitlin Howells. This next young man, he has really surprised me this year, especially with the events that he participated in all year long. He was able to place in 4 events for the state qualifier, Mr. Deontay Roberts. Deontay placed 7th in the long jump. He was 10th in the 400 meters. He also placed with the 4x4 relay team, and Deontay will be playing football for Erskine College, as you see on his chest in the fall.
Go, Beyonce. Wonderful.
Next up, we have Mr. J.W. Wicker. J.W. placed in the 400 meters, and he was also a part of the 4x400 relay team that placed 7th overall in the state qualifying meet.
Congratulations, guys.
We want to say thank you all for coming. We're looking forward to a great year next year in GHS athletics. Thank you, Dr. White.
Let's give all our awardees another hand. And at this time, if you would like to be dismissed, you may. If you would like to stay for the remainder of the meeting, you can do that as well. The next item on our agenda is School Board Policy BEDH, Public Participation.
There were none.
We had none tonight. We move on to item number 6, action items. Dr. White.
Thank you. The first item in front of you is our plan for the Gifted and Talented program for the FY26 school year, so for 2025, 2026. I know I sent you a good many pieces of paper. The Curriculum and Instruction Committee has reviewed this over, I guess, probably several weeks now. And from the first time the committee met until today, we did make one slight change to it, and the committee met again this evening and approved that slight change, and I'll go over that with you. But I want to hit the highlights of it for everyone who is here this evening. So for next year, what we're proposing is that students identified and qualifying for gifted and talented services will get those services at one single location, and that location will be B.D. Lee Elementary School. One of the good things about B.D. Lee Elementary School is its central location, and then there's space there for the 4 teachers who will be part of that program. The principal is also certified as a GT person, and there's some other people in that building that are GT certified as well that will kind of enhance that program. By having it in one location, all of our students will be able to take more advantage of their peer group. For example, in some of our smaller elementary schools, there may be only 1 or 2 students in a particular grade that qualifies for those GT services, and they either have to be mixed in with other folks in that building in a different grade, or they lose out on the opportunity to have those activities with their peer group across the school district. So this will help alleviate that. So under this plan, students in grades 3 and 4 will have day-long gifted instruction on Tuesdays throughout the school year. Students in grade 5 will have day-long gifted services on Wednesdays. On both of those days, students will transition from among those elementary gifted and talented teachers. So when they're there for their day, they see all 4 of those teachers. One for math, one for English language arts, one for research, one for project-based learning. So that schedule allows all gifted students the opportunity to master the grade level standards at an accelerated rate, and then either continue to accelerate in their achievement beyond the grade level or seek enrichment in order to deepen their understanding of that content and with greater complexity. On the remaining days of the week, Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, these GT teachers will work with students in grades 2 and 4, each pushing into different assigned schools within the district, and then using data, they will work with small group enrichment. So there'll be a number of students who didn't necessarily qualify for GT services but were close, and we will be able to enrich their program as well. There's a high likelihood of additional qualifications for students in grade 2 with this model, but the other tweak that we made to it was putting back a gifted and talented, for lack of a better word, what was it, Ms. Dr. Fox? Talent development. That's what we were looking for in grade 2. So that person will work with a program called Brain Boosters with every second grade in the school district. And the idea there is to increase the probability of students qualifying to get into GT in the first place. So that's what that's aimed at. So those enrichment interventions take place in their assigned schools. Again, this gifted talent development person works with all the second grade students. By using this model, we'll also be able to expand in some areas immediately and in some areas a little bit later, but we'll be able to work with gifted art, gifted PE, and even gifted music by being able to consolidate it like this. So that was the recommendation made to the curriculum committee, and they did endorse the plan. Transportation will be provided from each elementary school to and from BD Lee. Any parent who wants to drop their student off first thing in the morning at BD Lee can do that, and or pick them up in the afternoon, or they can choose either one of those services. So maybe they ride the bus in the morning and they get picked up in the afternoon, or they get dropped off in the morning and ride the bus in the afternoon back to their school, and then maybe the bus home, depending on what their situation is. So the transportation and all has been taken care of as well. So with that, Ms. Dawkins, I think we are ready for discussion.
Okay. This is a motion that is coming out of the curriculum committee. So at this time, we ask for any discussion or questions.
One thing we did not discuss tonight in our meeting was there will be a parent information meeting also to discuss the new concept of this program,
Yes, ma'am.
correct? Okay.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the approved proposed gifted and talented program plan for 25-26, raise your hand. That is unanimous. I want to thank Dr. Blanton and Dr. Fox for that just in-depth research and revamping this program and bringing all this to fruition. Thank you so very much.
They did a lot of work, and the 4 people who are working with GT now did a lot of work as well. So my hat's off to not only these 2, but the other teachers as well. They worked really hard on this plan, and I think everybody believes in it.
It shows, absolutely.
The next item is approving the school schedule for all elementary schools for 25-26. So what we found was our elementary schools were starting and stopping at different times, but more importantly than that was that the number of minutes in the subject areas that were required from the state weren't matching up like they needed to. So Dr. Dukes and his team worked with principals and others to come up with a schedule that would maximize the amount of student instructional time that we have. And so those hours were presented to the curriculum committee, and they did endorse this, and we appreciate that. But just to review, for every school, the instructional hours will be 7:45 a.m. to 2:15 p.m. The teacher hours will be 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. The morning drop-off window is 7 a.m. to 7:25 a.m. and the afternoon pickup time is 2:20 p.m. Breakfast service starts at 7 a.m. Anyone arriving after 7:45 would be marked tardy. And dismissal is at 2:15, and the instructional day concludes at 2:15. Transportation adjustments, the morning drop-off, so elementary bus riders will arrive at school starting at 7 a.m., and some of them start at 7 a.m. now. Elementary car riders can be dropped off as early as 7 a.m. I know that's important for some parents who have to get on to work or whatever. The instructional impact, the teaching and learning occurs from 7:45 to 2:15, so that's impactful. English language arts gets 120 minutes a day under this plan. Mathematics, 90 minutes a day, and science and social studies, up to 30 minutes a day daily, can be integrated or on an alternating schedule. So that was our recommendation for elementary start and stop times for next school year.
This is another recommendation coming out of the curriculum committee. Is there any discussion?
I have a question, Ms. Dawkins.
Yes, sir.
On the morning drop-off window, 7 a.m. to 7:25, the school starts at 7:45. Can you explain that more, Dr. White?
Breakfast,
Oh, for them to eat breakfast, they gotta be about 7:25.
yes, sir.
Gotcha.
But they're not tardy until 7:45, so you
Right.
still got 20 more minutes to drop off if your children do not eat breakfast.
That'll still be extending all these late buses we have, but that's another.
Breakfast.
Well, Dr. White, that leads me to this. Will the bus route start any sooner?
Dr. Dukes.
Okay.
So we made sure we coordinated with the transportation office that people shouldn't be picked up any earlier than they have been in the past. Some of them may end up getting picked up a little bit later than in the past because we're standardizing the start-stop times. Good question.
And what we found through discussion with the curriculum department was some schools were already on this schedule, some are not. So it's a consistent for all elementary schools, which I think is great.
True.
Any other discussion or questions? All those who are in favor? That is unanimous.
Okay, the next one is grading standards. And once again, the curriculum instruction team has spent a great deal of time on this, as has the curriculum and instruction department under Dr. Dukes. So we've standardized how grading will take place from elementary school through middle school through high school. It's one of the things that we found in doing some research on this is that different schools had different criteria for how grading was occurring, and within schools and within the same subject within a school, sometimes there were differences in how grading was occurring. We also discovered as part of that, that in some situations, the number of assessments during a grading period varied widely, and in some cases, you really had a difficult time defending how a particular grade could be given to a student given the number of assessments that had happened during that grading period and the kinds of assessments. So they worked really hard with principals and teachers and others to come up with something that would be consistent across our district. So no matter what school you're in or what grade you're in, the assessment criteria would be the same. It's fairly detailed for elementary and for middle school and for high school. And again, while the information that you have for the meeting tonight is detailed, the curriculum committee and the staff here have been over this in quite a lot of detail. So if there are questions, I'll direct them to Dr. Dukes and his staff.
This is a motion coming out of the curriculum committee. So is this time, do we have any discussion or questions concerning the new grading standards for the district for 25-26?
Dr. Dukes, can you speak to principal feedback? I'm assuming the principals have this information or given an opportunity to have their feedback. So can you give us some insight?
So all principals had an opportunity to give feedback to Dr. White and myself, and also principals took their information back to their teachers and got feedback from department chairs and other teachers. And for those teachers that had questions, they would reach out to me and I would respond with feedback to their questions. I think every teacher had an opportunity, if they wanted to share their thoughts and concerns with the grading plans.
And we did have some who emailed in thoughts or concerns to which we responded.
But it was not an astronomical
No.
amount, was it? But they had the opportunity.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is also changing how often grades are being entered into the system, as well as, I think I heard you say changing, so that if a student has missed an assignment or whatnot, they know it sooner rather than later when it's too late to do anything about making it up. So can you kind of just speak to that part, how we're notifying parents through Power School or through however we're notifying them, so we can actually track the grades faster and better?
Right. So there's an expectation that if you're going to put grades in, they need to be put in with between 24 and 48 hours of the assignment. If a student is missing an assignment or they didn't turn in an assignment, the teacher have the opportunity to notify the parent of that. What we found in the past is that some individuals would wait until the end of the 9 weeks and put all the zeros in, and the child would have like a 92. And then when the zeros are put in, it drops to a 42. And then the parents will call for concerns and trying to get feedback. So we've expect teachers to put grades in a timely manner.
And that's wonderful, absolutely. Any other questions or discussion? So,
I've got one. Now, what kind of action would be taken for that teacher that does not?
You know, I'm gonna refer that to the principal.
Okay.
But it's the parent principal's,
Yes.
administrator's responsibility to ensure that is being done.
Okay.
Correct.
That would be true. And so I think in those cases, each one of those would probably be handled on an individual basis. It's possible that an assessment was given and then the teacher was out sick for 2 or 3 days. I mean, there's stuff like that that could happen. It's possible that somebody just forgot, and you can deal with that. But for those who just flat out refuse to do what we as an organization have said is in the best interest of kids, we would have to deal with that in a different way.
any other questions? So all those who are in favor to approve the new grading standards for 25-26, raise your hand. That is unanimous.
All right. Well, we're on a roll with curriculum and instruction tonight. Dr.
Been
Dukes,
busy.
his people have been getting after it. So the next one is exam exemption status, and that one might not be quite as,
No, that ain't gonna be as quick.
you don't think so? Okay, all right. So we've been round and round about the exam exemption piece, and what you have before you tonight was a recommendation that we do away with exam exemptions altogether. But I can tell you that there's no passion about that among the administration and probably others as well. So while I put it before you because I believe that it's a defensible position to have, I know that it is something that seniors and or others in high school look forward to, being able to qualify to exempt that exam. I know principals can use this technique to encourage students to have good discipline by not being suspended. That's one of the criteria that you could have. Having a certain grade in the class could be a criteria, so that encourages people to work throughout the semester. Good attendance, if I didn't mention that already, so discipline, attendance, being college and career ready could be a reason for having an exam exemption, et cetera. So there are a lot of good reasons for that. I just think that whatever we do, we need to be consistent across the entire school district. And right now, there are slight differences between the exam exemption policies at the two high schools.
So this is another recommendation coming to us from the curriculum committee to request changes to the exam exemption status. And if my understanding, what is before us is that we discontinue exempting exams. That's what's before us, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's what came out of the committee, that we discontinue exempting exams. And we heard Dr. White talk about, some of the pros of exemption or whatnot. But Dr. Dukes, can you speak to the reasoning why your department is thinking that we need to do away with this exemption?
I think for the most part is the consistency or the lack of consistency across the board. It allows for subjectivity to be, decisions to be made, and then it creates inequitable opportunities for students. And so it's really, when we start looking at things outside of grades to make decisions, like CCR, behavior, and discipline, I think sometimes that punish kids on both ends of the spectrum. And it's just not fair because everybody's doing something completely different.
Okay. So, are there any questions from any of the trustees or any discussion?
Well, being on the curriculum committee, I think we were torn. When we did make a vote, we had one member of the committee that was absent that night, and we did vote 2-1, 2 in favor to support the curriculum department request that we remove the exam exemption policy. One that was absent is not in agreement with that, but we also had the discussion that if we did allow exam exemption, but it should be only for seniors only. I think at the present time, I don't know if both schools, but I know at least one school is doing juniors and seniors. So I know this policy started, I believe, in 2021. So when I was administrator, we did not have an exam exemption policy. As a student myself, when I went to college, we did have it when I was in Gaffney High School, but when I went to college, I didn't have to study for exams. So that was one of my reasons that I just feel like we're not preparing our kids. I know if they do it for seniors only, they would have 3 years to do that, but it's just my belief that we do not need to have an exam exemption policy. That's just me.
My question on one of the things that you said is that, and this is one of the questions that some people have reached out to me about, was exempting for seniors only, because our classrooms now are not as traditional as it was in the past, where you had only 11th graders in a class or only 12th graders in a class. Some classrooms now, you have 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grades in there. So if I've made an A in this class, and I'm in the 10th grade or the 9th grade, and I've made an A in this class the entire time, I have perfect attendance, I have no discipline issues, then just because I'm in the 9th or 10th grade, why am I taking the exam and the person sitting beside me who has the same thing that I have, but they're in the 12th grade, they get the exam? How do I reason that?
Because they were a senior. They're a senior student.
So that's the only thing, just
Yeah.
because they're a senior.
Yeah.
But that's hard for a child to wrap around that concept.
I think
To me.
in the past, everything was really course way determined. And I think now you have so many students in 9th grade that are accelerating in middle school. So now you may have a 9th grader in Algebra 2.
Right,
But Algebra 2 is really an 11th grade course.
right,
So now you are putting the inequities, so it's just very, so you have to be very mindful, because it's no longer about the grade of the student or the grade level.
right.
Now it's about the course
Exactly. That's my thought.
And the
Which-
GPA.
and the GPA.
Which would, again, help if you did not have an exam exemption policy. That would not have that. Question marks.
Like right now, they have to have an A, or they can have a B with, is it 3 absences? Am I correct? Something like that.
It's 3 unexcused absences, I
Mm-hmm.
believe.
You said at one school. See, that's the problem.
It's at one school.
We got if we're gonna do it. I'm for the exam exemptions, especially for the seniors. But if we're gonna do it, it needs to be uniform
Yep.
in Gaffney and Blacksburg.
Right.
Yep.
We can't have students over here. This is Peter's little son, and
Right.
we're gonna let him on
We can't
through,
cherry pick.
but we're gonna make JJ's kid. We can't do that.
We can't cherry
We
pick,
need to
right.
say they gotta have an A. Can't mix the absences, and if it's gotta be a senior, I'm fine with that, because seniors take their exams about 2 weeks early anyway. Because we still got some classes that are senior heavy, like economics and government, and that right, Smitty? Stuff like that. I know your math courses, they do integrate. I know they integrate in your math courses. And then you got repeat offenders who can't get out of certain grades, and they end up integrating, but those kids are not gonna be exempt anyway. Let's just be truthful. But I'm fine with the seniors only, but I do say we need to come up with a uniform policy. And if they're not upholding it, then we'll hold Dr. Blanton and Mr. Mullenak's feet to the fire.
Right.
Because it's
Right.
our job to make policies, it's their job to carry it out.
Right.
I'll say something about econ and government. Econ and government is no longer a 12th grade course.
It's 11 too.
10th graders can take it.
Oh, yeah?
as
Mhm.
well. So again, kids are jumping all over the
Right.
place taking courses now, because those prereqs that were once in place years ago are being removed.
Gotcha.
It's just tough for me to have to think of our children now, to have one test that has such a heavy weight. You're talking 20% of the grade. And for it to have that heavy a weight, one test can either make or break some of our kids, and that's tough.
Ms. Dawkins, I'll just speak for a second on what you said. I'm a member of that committee, and I'm the one who voted against the administration's recommendations, and that's not something that I did lightly. I typically understand, and I do understand the time, the energy, the effort that you all do in your day jobs, and I trust that. What gave me pause was exactly what you just said, is that these tests have become high stakes tests. And a lot of our students, most of our students, they're tested with EOC, they're tested, they're taking multiple classes, some of them are AP classes, some of them are dual enrollment. Even the ones that aren't, there's a lot of pressure that they place on themselves, that we place on them, that their parents place on them to take exams. And I just didn't think the 20%, I thought that was a lot for an exam, truthfully. But I'm certainly willing to consider, I mean, I'm very much in favor of compromise. I just felt like a carte blanche exam exemption doing away with, I didn't think that was fair to our students, truthfully. And I know I did some research on not just using AI, but I did dig into online handbooks, and I know that most of the districts, Greenville does not, they don't allow exam exemptions, but most of the other districts do. So.
Yeah, I think we need to keep in mind too that you mentioned AP classes, but we also have dual enrollment. And for those classes that are being taken at Spartanburg Community College, they would dictate whether an exam would be given or not. So we would be in control of the ones that we offer.
And the other piece of that is having a district-wide exam exemption rule would be helpful. I think what we have in place now is so broad that it does leave it up to the individual schools, and I think that's where we've gotten off track.
So what would be the thoughts of the board with regard to something other than a grade in the class being criteria for exam exemption? What kinds of other things should or should not be considered?
Attendance,
Yeah,
discipline.
Attendance, discipline.
That's it for me. Grades, attendance, discipline.
I would agree with that.
Mr. Cash, you look like you're deep in thought down there. Do you have
I
any?
was just, the way, Dr. White, you asked the question, I was just making sure I understood it. I understood.
Like college and career ready was, I think, one school of information you gave us that used that criteria. In addition to attendance, grades, and discipline, they use college and or career ready. I think it
If
was.
we were to allow an exemption is what, those are the things you wanted us to consider.
I was wondering what your thoughts were on whether or not they should be considered.
I was also on the committee, and I initially voted to agree that, no need to have an exemption policy. But that's because I didn't have one when I was in school, so I didn't, I don't know what it's like to be able to skip an exam, so I'm not quite sure. But I know, Ms. Shackford, you mentioned, you did make a point one time about, these kids are all competing for scholarships with other schools that may get to skip an exam, and that could affect their GPA, and I mean, so it's a lot.
Or
There's
admissions,
a lot
or
of
military, yeah.
there's a lot of thought that's going into this, and that is going into this decision. Could we review this at a later time? Do we have time to push this
Absolutely.
a little further?
Yeah.
Anyone else has any questions, any thoughts?
College is allowed some. My daughter just exempted from one. She was tickled to death. She had a 4.0, so she was glad to, valedictorian, and she liked the fact that she was able to skip her college one because she was ready to go to work, and she didn't want to have to study for it and do all that work. So I understand the benefit and the excitement, but I agree. Seniority's life. You go to work, people's been there longer than you, they get benefits, you don't.
Right.
So giving it to just seniors not bother me at all.
Yeah.
That's a benefit of being a senior. I don't think anybody else should be exempt from it, but maybe some seniors that are less ready to go on to a career or go on to college if it's just gonna hurt them anyway. If they work hard enough to have a perfect grade, and then all of a sudden force them to take the exam, that hurts them, they lose a scholarship. You're hurting certain kids. As a senior, it could maybe be left up to them. If they qualify, some of them may still want to take it anyway, but some may not. That's just my thought. Pushing it down the road sounds good to me. I would not vote for a total exemption tonight, I wouldn't.
Is there a particular grade where you actually start building your GPA? I mean, is it more in the 10th or 11th grade, or?
All high school
Eighth
classes.
grade.
Starting
Great.
Okay.
for students taking.
Well, I mean, I know you get to take courses that goes towards your, graduation. You earn credits. I just didn't know if there was a certain grade where you start building more of it towards your GPA than another. So,
So you start building if you take any like algebra 1 or geometry in the middle school.
So,
or you
in
can
8th
do
grade.
course, you can get college, you can get high school credit there. But your junior year is where it really impacts the students, because that's where the colleges look for admission, is the junior year.
and that's what I was thinking, because it seems like a lot of the districts that I know, they allow juniors and seniors to exempt. I don't have a problem with just senior. I was just getting to that fact, though, that a lot of them do allow both junior and senior to exempt, but that's neither here or there. So at this time, I am hearing that we want to take this back to the drawing board, do a little bit more work on it. So can I get a motion to table this at this time?
I'll make a motion that we table.
Motion, Ms. Shackelford.
Second.
Second, Mr. Wilkins. All those in favor? That is unanimous.
Perfect. This is the kind of discussion that's good for board discussion. And I appreciate that feedback. All right, the next item is approval of board meeting calendar for next year. Man, I can't believe it's here already. So this is the meetings for 25 and 26, and it's all the meeting dates are the ones that you have in board policy. I think it's second and fourth Tuesday of each month. The second one being the primary, and the first one being the primary, and the fourth Tuesday of each month being the secondary meeting if needed.
Monday.
I'm sorry, Mondays. I don't know what I had in my mind on. But anyway, so the second one is the if necessary one. And then we made some adjustments for things like if Thanksgiving fell in there somewhere, or if spring break fell in there somewhere, or Memorial Day, things like that. We made those adjustments. So Ms. Duckett put this together for me. I trust her implicitly. So that's the calendar for next year that we ask you to approve.
We ask for a motion to approve the 2025-26 board meeting calendar.
I make a motion, we approve the 25-26 board meeting calendar.
Motion, Ms. Gallman.
Second.
Second, Mr. Greer. All those in favor? That is unanimous.
All right, this looks like it might be the last one that I have to bring before you, at least this evening. And we've had a request from some citizens to relocate the Bob Pravat statue that's at Limestone University, I think it's over at the baseball field, to an appropriate location at the reservation. Those citizens have been in contact with USDA, the folks who hold the loan, and I think who are now in command or in control of all of the assets at Limestone. And they have indicated that they would see that in a favorable light. They recognize the importance of it to the community. There was concern about potential vandalism or other kinds of things if it stayed where it was, and so that's why they were making that request. So we bring that to you this evening for your consideration.
At this time, we ask for a motion to accept the Bob Pravat statue from Limestone University to be relocated to the reservation. Can I get a motion for that?
Where would, before we vote,
We ain't got the discussion
where
yet.
you plan on putting it at?
Well, as part of the discussion, I would handle that question by saying I would probably appoint the principal and the athletic director and possibly some other folks from the district office here, along with a couple of community folks, to come back with a recommendation on exactly where it would go.
We need a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Motion, Ms. Shackelford.
Second.
Second, Ms. Gallman. Any discussion or questions?
Yeah, I'm gonna say this before we vote. I think we about to open up a can of worms. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
Any other comments or discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous.
Okay. That is it for action items.
Okay, we're moving on to number 7, the superintendent's report.
Okay. So, finance report will be at our next meeting. Remember, this meeting is the second meeting of May, and so we normally have that finance report the first Monday of the month. So that'll come at our next meeting. Today, we started the leadership retreat conference for principals, assistant principals, and instructional coaches and others in our school district. Principals were able to invite someone from their school other than off their administrative staff, and many of them had teachers attending the conference today. It started today. It goes for 4 days, and we're off to a great start. Ms. Westmoreland does not know that I'm going to do this, but I heard her saying some things to Dr. Dukes about the conference today, and I thought maybe I could get her to share her comments with you all about the conference.
It was very evident today that a lot of planning, a lot of design, purposeful intent for the leadership that we'll get this week. It was wonderful.
Good.
It was absolutely amazing. The department clearly did a lot of great work and had a lot of talented people there helping to guide and direct us. It was really great.
Kind of a theme of it was Know Thy Impact. You all will get a copy of what we've been doing at this conference this
Right.
week, Monday,
Thank you.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and the detail and the schedule that goes into it. Know Thy Impact is a good theme because we're really focusing on the kinds of things that impact student achievement. That's where our major focus is going to be. So we had a welcome and framing of the work and a visioning kind of for the whole impact. That was followed up today by some strategic planning it was called Strategic Planning and Me, and it was led by Ms. C.R. Hall from the State Department of Education. She is the one who will be examining our strategic plans and our Title I plans. So this is the end of the last 5-year strategic plan that you had. So we're starting a new 5-year strategic plan. It was important to have her there today to help point out things from the previous strategic plan that didn't match up with some of the things in our Title I plans. And so some very good questions were asked about why is that. Now, some of the explanation has to be that the principal in the building today is not the principal that was in the building when the 5-year plan was started in the first place, which makes it so important that other people in that building understand what the plan is for that 5 years so that there's continuity regardless of who is in a leadership role. And I would say that same thing is true for you guys as well.
Right.
For at the district level and at the board level, that there be an understanding of that comprehensive strategic plan so that there's continuity moving forward regardless of who is in what leadership role. So those kinds of things are taking place. A lot of emphasis was placed on the involvement of school improvement councils and parents and community members in the planning process, and an emphasis on the fact that you have to document their involvement through minutes and sign-in sheets. And so I think as we go through this process this year, there's going to be a lot of activity at the district level and in school buildings with folks participating in that process. And that's all a part of the accreditation that we have. While I'm on instruction, could you give us a little bit of an update on the summer school situation?
Good evening, Chairman Dawkins,
Good
board
evening.
members, and Dr. White. We started summer school today. I don't think I have been in a situation where we don't get a call about transportation. Today, we didn't get a call
Wow.
about transportation.
That's wonderful.
We actually had some students get on the bus that did not become summer students. We have 4 sites. We have Blacksburg Middle with Blacksburg Middle students, Ewing Middle with Ewing Middle and Gaffney Middle, and then we have Blacksburg High School and Gaffney High School. The middle school will start today, will go through June 12th. They decided to do a 2-week after we discussed summer school around the region. And so they will do 2 weeks, Monday through Thursday, 8 to 12. High school, June 2nd through June 26th. It's more high stakes for our high school students. And that will be Monday through Thursday, 8 to 12. Teachers, we have coming in from 7:30 to 12:30, and then students 8 to 12. We are using coursework, an online platform, Edgenuity, that you may all have heard of. We are customizing those courses for our middle school and high school. For the middle school, it will be 20 hours. That means that they must do at least 10 hours a week for the 2 weeks, which will give us 20 hours for the courses. For the high school, it's 40 hours. Again, 10 hours per week. High school is also using SE Virtual for some initial credit that our students may need, who need to get back on track for graduation. This is for credit recovery for our Edgenuity. The teachers were sent a video. I sent a video on how to do that customization for each student. So it's kind of individualized for our students. Let me just give you a breakdown of what the numbers look like for summer school. We have 18 students who were eligible for Blacksburg Middle School. We had 30 students for Blacksburg High School. For Ewing Middle, it was 26, Gaffney Middle 51, and Gaffney High School 61. We have a total of 186 students who were eligible middle school, high school. 95 of them needed bus transportation. We had students who needed to recover 10 or more subjects for credit recovery. And we had 15 initial credit classes that we needed some students to have to get back on track for high school graduation. We also have a nurse at our schools. We have a SPED student, thank you, Ms. Westmoreland, for that. We also have SROs at each of our sites. We have teachers who have set up classrooms with those students, also looking at teacher-created lessons that may help you today. Our schedule is set up to where our students have breakfast when they come in. Okay, they will do a coursework, they'll have a 5-minute break, they go back into a coursework, they then have a stretch break, we call it. They go back to another coursework, because it is almost 4 hours of the day, and then they get lunch and then go home. The calls that I did receive, or emails I received today, were basically about Edgenuity, making sure that kids could get in if they were not familiar with that. And so those calls were very few. We have staff members who worked last week to prepare for summer school, so they did do a work day, and we were very happy to hear that they were able to get our spreadsheets in, and talk with finance. Thank you for Michelle Poole working with us as we met last week about timesheets for our teachers. So we feel that these next 2 weeks for middle school, 4 weeks for high school, although SE Virtual goes through August, we are saying that we're here to help you if you need it, so you can get back on course and then recover those classes by August. So hopefully when, the 186 students that are eligible, not saying they win the seats today, but were eligible, have an opportunity to get back on track for graduation and promotion to the next grade.
So they're actually in the classroom, like high school, they're actually in a classroom for 4 weeks, and then they will continue through August virtually,
Yes, yes.
through SC Virtual.
But they're still on the virtual platform at the high school. What we're providing is help,
Right,
because some of them may not have had a chance to get on SC Virtual or have lived in Edgenuity.
Okay.
So they need that help. And
Perfect.
So our teachers are monitoring that.
great, okay.
And SC Virtual provides the certified teacher.
Yes.
They're just at home.
Right,
So we're providing a teacher to provide support at the school.
that's great.
Ms. Dawkins, I'm just curious, Dr. White, Dr. Whiteside, Dr. Dukes, do you think we'll ever go back to having in-person teachers during summer school? Is that a goal, or is it a trend that we continue to do the virtual classes?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the trend is more virtual classes. I think a lot of districts have moved away from traditional summer school because of the cost and manpower. It was very difficult to find the teachers that we have now who was willing to give up their summer to come in and work for the amount that we're paying per hour. So I don't know of a district that still does traditional summer school. Everything is virtual. Most of it is virtual.
In my mind, these are students that, y'all are in the classrooms with them, but they really need the help. And I know that we're providing that to some degree, but I was just curious if that, in what direction we're headed with that.
And it is difficult, especially when you have students who need maybe, I looked at one student, she needed 4 to recover. And that's gonna be very difficult. She may get 2 in. But when you have 10 different courses that need to be recovered, it's hard to find 10 teachers who may do that, especially if you only have 2 in one course.
Right,
5 in another.
exactly.
So, yes, but monitoring that platform of Edgenuity, which we use all through the year, believe me, I have a report to send to principals on how many courses that we have used in Edgenuity to help our seniors graduate. I was doing it up until April to make sure they were on course, because it's very hard.
Yep.
You know, to have a teacher to pull that particular student to teach them during that time, so.
And I know staff and administration, principals, teachers, all the way down are doing everything they can to get every single student to the graduation line. I get that.
Yes, ma'am.
Just wanna make sure that it's quality
Yeah.
instruction and we're doing what we need to
And
do.
I understand what you're saying.
Yep.
And that's why, even at the middle school, we talked about, having some teacher-created lessons, you know, for some of those students. But again, if we have that many students at the middle school who need science or social studies, math, and, ELA, it would be very hard per grade level to
Yeah.
have that many teachers to try to do that for us. So,
Okay, thank you for that.
thank you so much.
But even though it's virtual, there is a teacher in front of them, live teacher in front of them through the duration of the class, right? Okay,
We're trying to bring a lot more accountability to the student being
Right.
on task, and more accountability with teachers being in contact with parents about attendance and effort.
Yes,
And you said that you was feeding them.
yes,
Breakfast
they
and
do, they
lunch.
get breakfast and lunch.
How are you feeding them at the high school at Blacksburg?
Excuse me?
How are you feeding them at the high school at Blacksburg?
I think that they have, the program that we have.
Yeah.
Right.
Cause they're working over there, I just,
Probably with the same way we're feeding everybody else in the community with those things that go all week.
Cause they're feeding at each of the sites.
It's not Burger King.
well, I knew they
It
was.
is nutritious.
I knew they was doing a lot of work in there,
Yeah.
I just didn't know.
Yeah. All right,
thank you, Dr. Whiteside.
thank you.
Any other questions?
And speaking of helping students, let me ask Ms. Westmoreland again to speak about what we're doing with mental health. This is National Mental Health Month.
So what I kinda got together is just a snapshot of mental health for Cherokee County School District for this past year. And so as you guys know, we have based on their needs, whether it be weekly, bi-monthly. Those are students getting consistent mental health services throughout the school year. And we utilize South Carolina Department of Education, Regenesis Healthcare, Innovative Counseling Services, and out-of-the-box counseling for us. So we're really happy to have that many service providers for us. We also have 2 district trainers for youth mental health first aid. I think I've spoken to you several times about that program. But 2 of our trainers, we've actually fully trained 2 schools and all of their staff in youth mental health first aid. It's a fairly rigorous training, so it takes some days to get that done. But we already have plans that we'll be training all of our bus drivers at the beginning of school, and we'll be training all of our teacher assistants at the beginning of school well. So just to have more folks that are aware to recognize a child in crisis. We are also beneficiaries of the Building Hopes and Dreams grant. This past, I guess it was about 4 weeks ago, was right in the middle of SC Ready, horrible timing, but we trained 2 coaches in every elementary school that will be a part of this Building Hopes and Dreams grant, and this is about suicide prevention. And beginning that at our elementary schools. Our kickoff will actually be in October of this school year. We have active Sewing to Grow in all of our elementary schools, which is a social emotional learning curriculum for our students, and we have active Hope squads in our middle schools and high schools. We also have a living mental health resource guide that we created in conjunction with Cherokee Behavioral Health Committee. It is an amazing resource guide that can get you any help you need, and it's living. It's constantly updated, and we send it out to all users in the school district, so that if you ever have any question, any need, you can go right to that resource and find any support that you may need for yourself, for students in your classroom, or for your own family.
All right.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much.
So I want to talk about communications next. I don't know how many of you were able to get a copy of the Ledger or the Chronicle that featured our class of 2025. This is not the one I was looking for. The one with the accolades in it? No, that's all right. I just picked up the wrong one. So what I wanted to point out to you was that the accomplishments of the class of 2025 we have distributed to as many people as we know how. So that information went out not only through the print media, but went out through our social media, and then we sent it to all users in our school district as well. And I just would encourage you all to share that with others so that folks can see the good things that are going on in this school district and the culmination of the work from 4K all the way up through the 12th grade. Now, both high schools participated in that, so not just the principals or assistant principals, but guidance counselors. They all had to pull all that together to get to Dr. Fox. But all that to say, thank you, Dr. Fox, for whatever you had to do browbeating wise and otherwise to get all that information in, to get it together, to make it fit the criteria for the people we were sending it to. So thank you very much for that. And while I've got your attention, would you mind sharing a few statistics about what all you've been able to do this year?
So, he asked me to sort of compile some of the things that we've done for communications. Since approximately November, there have been 64 press releases that have gone out. That doesn't mean that they printed all of them, but it does mean that they received them. We've had 3 different letters that have gone out to families in CCSD and also to faculty and staff for CCSD. And then I can't give you all the stats for social media because they run it in 28-day frames. But in the past 28 days, we had 496,638 views. 52% of those came from our followers, but 48% came from non-followers. So I think that we are reaching people that maybe will become followers in the future. We actually, over the past 28 days, had a net gain of 71 followers. We did lose a few. I'm thinking that maybe they left because their kids graduated and they maybe didn't need all the information. Our reach has been to more than 64,000 people. We've had 7,358 content interaction. On the first day of Teacher Appreciation Week, we had over 43,000 views, and that continued really steadily through that entire week. And then we had 2,000 views on May the 13th when we revisited our teacher drawing. So we had a lot of interaction coming in, and I plan on charting that every 28 days since that's the time that I can look at it. But some really good stuff and details came out of that. We are linking together. We have the beginnings of an Instagram page, which we are linking together with our Facebook page. That way we'll be able to reach more of the students. The students happen to be more on Instagram than they are on Facebook. Their parents and their grandparents and most of the adults are on Facebook. And then we also have the beginning of a LinkedIn page that we can use for recruitment. So. Good. And along with the people who helped, besides the principals, the assistant principals, and the guidance counselors, the yearbook teachers. The yearbook teachers were absolutely phenomenal in getting me pictures and getting me different people that could go into that publication. So I want to thank them too.
Thank you. Two of the things we're focusing on this summer. One is our website. We're going to try to make whatever is timely one of the first things you see when you go to the website. So we want to make sure we also have a link right up front, particularly this time of year, for applications for teachers, et cetera. So that'll be prominent. As we get closer to time for school to start, then more information should be up front about, you know, how you register, how you figure out which school you go to, all that kind of stuff. The other thing we're working on is another publication that will be a comprehensive list of what you need to know for the beginning of school. And we'll get it out in a fashion similar to the one that we did with the class of 2025. So some of the more painful's too strong a word, but some of the more contentious things that we're working on is whatever the supply list is for the 5th grade, it's going to be for all the schools in the 5th grade. It's not going to be different from this elementary school than that elementary school. So we're standardizing those kinds of things. We're standardizing anything that has to do with any finances that are involved. We're making sure we try to get information on there about who you need to call to figure out what bus you ride. So all of that we're trying to pull together and have in one place and get out in late July, early August at the latest, and then do that on multiple occasions. So 2 major things, website and a back-to-school publication. So thank you, Dr. Fox. Let me switch over now to human resources and ask Dr. Smith to talk a little bit about our personnel status, retention and that kind of thing, maybe the new law on teachers.
All right, for certified personnel, this includes all certified, so this is administrators as well as teachers, any support personnel that are certified. We've had a 93% retention rate for that class. For teachers only, just teachers, 92% retention rate. So we lost 47 of the 583 that were on the roll. Both of those numbers are skewed somewhat because we had that list of uncertified. You know, there were 17 there that didn't get certified, so they had to leave. Which had they been certified, stayed, so that number would have went up there. And based on our data right now, this could change. Those that actually put in for a transfer were only 13, which is the lowest number since COVID. Wow. That actually said, I'm going to District 2 or I'm going to District 7.
And that's great.
So that's positive.
That is
classified employees had a 97% retention rate. We currently only have 14 openings right now. I did call Jody today and his bus driving situation, because we have some double ups and some coaches, teachers drive. So he said it always fluctuates around 9 drivers, but he works with that. It's kind of an equation that he couldn't explain. So, you know, we always need bus drivers though. Any questions on those numbers? I was going to talk about the new law a little bit. Non-certified teacher pilot program. Okay, so it's just a pilot right now. The state legislators put it on the State Department of Education by May the 1st of 2025, which has passed, to permit a school to hire non-certified teachers in a ratio of up to 10% of your staff. So, out of 100 teachers on staff, 10 of those could be uncertified. There are some rules to go along with this. First of all, you got to have a doctorate or a master's degree to be in this program. There will be procedures requiring non-certified teachers to go through evaluation. None of that's been figured out, okay? This is early on. The State Department's got a lot of work to do with this law here. Procedures for requiring non-certified teachers, like I said, go through the evaluation. Also, initial ongoing training, which is important too, because our goal is to get them certified. They would have to join some type of program, whether it be alternative or going through a traditional pathway in the first by the third year. So I was hired today. I have 3 years to get into a program. You should know this participation is volunteer. It's optional. Okay, the district does not have to do it. It's actually, it says it's a relationship between the Department of Education and principal with superintendent's approval. But, it's something that's new on the books. State Department, Tammy Perry actually called today and asked some questions about it. They don't have answers right now because it is so new. My only concern would be, let's say 700 teachers in our district, we have 70 that are uncertified. Come 2030, the state all of a sudden says, I'm not gonna do this anymore. So you have 70 teachers that are gonna have to leave because they're uncertified. I mean, that's the worst case scenario, obviously, because we try to get them certified. But that's the law right now.
Dr. Smith, was there a experience requirement?
I thought it was 5 years.
I didn't see this in what I had, but we talked about that you had to have 5 years in the field, which math, is pretty easy, I would think, even if I'm a journalist and I want to teach English. I don't know about social studies, maybe I work at a museum. I don't know about elementary, how that would work, other than being a TA, which is a great way to go from, being a classified to a certified employee, which we've had those in our district through certain programs and through, just getting their college degree and getting that certification. But yes, there's a 5-year, I know they don't have the answers to that yet.
Well, I think this is a response from the legislature to the statewide teacher shortage that we have. And I think particularly for us, there may be some opportunities with folks who were in higher education in a subject area and that no longer an option for them that we could take advantage of while they are in this certification process. So I do think that there's some possibilities there. Yeah, for us. But it is still our intent to have a highly qualified, certified teacher in every classroom. That's our goal, and we're going to strive towards that. So thank you for that report. Mr. Nefkin, can you give us a little bit of an update on all this money you're spending on technology?
That wasn't right.
I've definitely spent quite a bit so far this year, or for next year, I should say, for the capital projects. The Chromebooks for the middle schools have already been ordered. They have arrived. They're at the middle schools, but they've not been onboarded yet. That'll be happening over the next couple of months. We'll be prepared. Then as the students come into the middle school, beginning of the year, we'll do a swap out at that point, and the old ones will be held back as spares for the elementary schools for next year, and at which point we'll have to do the elementary schools next year. That's 2,100, so that's quite a number. Next year, unfortunately, will be even more, so the dollar figure will not go down, unfortunately, next year. Those are, of course, the middle schools. Then we have 400 iPads, which is about a quarter of our total. And through the 5-year plan that I've submitted to Dr. White and Director Isom, this year we'll do about 400. Next year we'll do about 400. And then I think we skip a year, and then we do 400 the other 2 years. So over the next 5 years, all the iPads will be replaced throughout the district. The iPads will start at Blacksburg Primary, and more than likely it's going to be Draytonville Elementary School is the 2 we'll do this year. And then next year, I think it was going to be Blacksburg Elementary, and I can't remember. I have to look back at my figures. But those are the 2 schools that will be this year that we'll swap out all the iPads in those schools. And that'll be done this summer. Those are actually supposed to arrive tomorrow. The cases for them have already arrived, but the iPads themselves will arrive tomorrow. Then we'll have to go through the onboarding process and so forth with those also. Promethean panels, we're doing 75 of those this year. They're in the 5-year plan to be replaced also. We're doing I2 and BD Leave this year because they have the older Clear Touch panels. And so that'll get at that point, we get all the clear touch panels out of our system, and both schools will have new panels. Next year, we're doing, I think, 50, and then we kind of skip a year, and then we do about 100. Then on that 5th year, we've got several hundred that we end up doing, and the reason for that is those Promethean panels, by the year 2031, they're pretty much nothing more than a monitor. There's no capability in them other than just if you want to plug a laptop into them. And a lot of teachers use them for their Google Drives and for that kind of stuff. So there's just no benefit at that point of having them. And it's an unfortunate side effect of technology is it keeps changing or it keeps going bad. One or the other. The storage area network front end, that has been ordered. The vendor has it, and that will be done sometime late June, early July is when that installation will go on. Last year we did the back end portion of that just because unfortunately warranties run out, and if you can't keep a warranty on that stuff, then you really run a risk of losing a lot of data. And so this year we're doing the front end part of that. What we do have will go to Blacksburg to act as a backup with the other stuff we have. So we'll write copies of what we have here to there. The Promethean panels, those are scheduled to be installed in July is when those will be going in. And then of course the supplemental staff laptops, which I put in for, I think, to order about 40 of those. And that's mostly just to handle new staff coming in, that kind of thing. And I'll plan to order those probably this week or next week to get those in here before school starts. I know the camera systems, they are coming Thursday and next week to work on those. So hopefully the majority of those will be done next week or the next couple of weeks, and we'll get all that squared away. We've had, unfortunately, a hold up between the insurance company and the vendor getting together on everything, but it looks like we've finally gotten that ironed out, so that will be taken care of soon. I'm trying to think. I think that pretty much, that's all the capital projects, and of course the camera, which is not a capital project, that's a side effect of what happened in March, unfortunately. But I've spent the money. I'm not holding on to any of it, so, but we will, everything is on pace to be ready for the beginning of the school year.
Yeah. Did he talk about the cameras?
Yes.
He did talk about updating the camera system.
Any questions on any of that, or? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. On the operations side, maybe we can get into a little more detail at the next meeting, but baseball and softball at both Blacksburg and Gaffney is well underway. We've had a couple of owner, architect, contractor meetings. We've had meetings with the principals and ADs with regard to various aspects in both places, everything from number and kinds of lockers in the locker room to branding that will be on the outside. So both of those are moving forward and are well underway. In Blacksburg, in the gymnasium, appreciated the fact that you all let us push from the end of last year into this year the work in the gymnasium. The floor is finished, and I believe they started today, or at least they were supposed to start today on putting the bleachers back in there. The sound system was done, the acoustic panels were in. I attended several programs over there in the late spring. You could hear, and everything seems to be going really, really fine over there. Kitchen plumbing projects that you mentioned, Mr. Greer, those are underway. Restroom at Draytonville should be scheduled soon. Blacksburg Middle School cafeteria tile is on the schedule. The playground projects are underway, working with the principals on those. And I would say that we are putting some extra effort this year on our emphasis with our grounds. For lack of a better word, the curb appeal as you go up to our buildings. And so we're focusing on all of our schools, and especially the two high schools and the middle schools. So we're working on that. Everything from the landscaping piece of it to signage and branding, cleaning things up. So we're trying to focus on that this summer. A keen emphasis on that. Summer schedule, we started today with the 4-day, 10-hour week for those of us who are here through the summer. So beginning now, we'll be off on Fridays, And that ends, regular work hours will resume on Monday, July 28th. Lord have mercy, it comes up fast.
It will.
That first full week in July, we will be getting after it like crazy. Maintenance and transportation staff have a slightly different schedule. They come in a little earlier, 6:30, and leave at 4. Everybody else is 7:30 to 5. The next item I had for you guys was a discussion of the board retreat that we have been talking about. And so I sent to you, you should have in your packet a proposal for our school district for this board. And as I listened to you over the last few months, I know one of the things that was important to you was protecting your time. We have been meeting a lot, and I appreciate that. There's been a lot of work to do, I feel like. So I talked to the folks who made this proposal at One Acorn, run by Dr. Booker and his colleague with his consulting service, Dr. Darrell Owings. Both of them are retired, successful superintendents, so they will be conducting the workshop should you choose to approve it. And the dates for the workshop would be June 23rd, which is a normal board meeting for you, and again on August 11, which is a normal board meeting date for you. Now, I can't tell you that we won't have to have a called meeting sometime in late July or early August, because teachers come back on the 4th, and we may still have some approvals needed for hiring folks so they can get paid on time, etc. But our goal will be to try to leave you alone as much as we can this summer so that you can focus on this. So I know there's a good bit of time between the first session and the second session, but the idea from the consultants is that when you leave that first session, you'll actually have some homework to take with you, to contemplate, to think through, and probably share it with one another. You don't want any homework.
I don't want to be in summer school.
Okay. She doesn't want summer school. The topics are listed for you there, and I will tell you that there's about 15 hours that will be put into this by the presenters and all, not quite that many hours for you guys. And so it's about a total of about $47.50. So for less than $5,000, this is really quite a deal for these two guys and the administrative support that they will be bringing to you. So my suggestion to you is that you accept this proposal. I'll sign off on it. I'll get the PO in place, and we'll plan for those meetings in June and in August.
We need a motion for that?
Sure.
Okay. So at this time, I call for a motion for Dr. White to set in place the board trustee retreat
Planning session, yeah.
and planning session to be held on June the 23rd and August the 11th. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the plan for a board retreat.
Motion, Ms. Shackelford.
Second.
Second, Ms. Gallman. Any discussion?
I just think, I mean, that is a great deal of money for 2 days. And that's about all I'm gonna say. It's just, I mean, we just spent $25,000 with the school board association to get on the same page, and I don't know, that's just, it seems a lot of money for 2 days. For 9 different opinions at the end of the day. So, I don't know, that's my piece.
Anyone else?
I'll say that, you know, in my mind, we expect our administrators, our principals, our teachers, our staff to take professional development. And I think $5,000 is $5,000. I think it's an investment in our leadership and the quality of thoughtfulness that we bring to this table. And I think there's a lot of value in all of us being on the same page with strategic priorities and goals for the next year or two. So in my mind, I know what we're getting for the money, and it's a great deal. I mean, and that's talking value. But what those two guys can help us do, I think we would be well suited to take advantage of it.
My thought behind these sessions were that we won't leave with 9 different opinions. I'm hoping that that these two will be able to pull us together to solidify. That way we can move forward in our superintendent search. We won't come up at the end to the finish line as we did last time and then kind of fizzle out. I want us to see it through, and I'm hoping that they can kind of unify us, help us set some strategic goals, help us define what we're looking for in a superintendent, what we hope the superintendent will bring to the table for Cherokee County, and how that person will help us move forward. And so we can choose the right person for our district. So that's what I'm hoping to get from this session. And I have to agree with Ms. Shackelford. If at the end of the session that we're able to come together, get on one accord, have one opinion, one collective opinion as how and what we're looking for our district, I'm hoping that my constituents will agree that it's worth the $5,000 spent. Anyone else? Well, at this time, we'll call for all those who are in favor. That is Mr. Cash, Mr. Greer, Mr. McBee, Ms. Shackelford, myself, and Ms. Gallman. Those who oppose, Mr. Wilkins. So it moves with the majority vote.
Okay, we'll take care of that. Next thing I have for you is kind of information from the School Boards Association. I'm pretty sure this was mailed to you, and we put it in your packet tonight as well. And that's the delegate assembly that takes place in December. I know that seems like it's forever away, but the deadline for nominations for any officers or board, or any proposals for legislative resolutions, any changes to the Constitution, y'all, that's due June 11. So we have one more meeting before June 11. So any of that business that you all want to participate in, you would need to let us know so we can get it on the agenda for the next board meeting on June 9th. Okay? Then finally, again, we meet on June the 9th. The next potential board meeting we just talked about would be on the 23rd and then the 11th, and that is it for my report.
Thank you, Dr. White. We'll move on to the next item on our agenda, executive session. Ask for a motion to enter into executive session for personnel matters for the purpose of discussing the employment, discipline, or release of an employee or employees of the district, property matters, and student discipline.
I'll make a motion to enter into executive session for those aforementioned reasons.
Motion, Mr. Cash.
Second.
Second, Mr. Wilkins. All those in favor? We are now in executive session. To open session.
I'll make a motion, we'll return to open session.
Motion, Mr. McBee.
Second.
Second, Mr. Wilkins. All those in favor? We now return to open session. There's no item needed from executive session. Personnel recommendations. I ask for a motion to approve the personnel recommendations presented by Dr. Smith and Dr. White.
I'll make a motion that we approve the personnel recommendations as presented by Dr. Smith and White.
Motion, Ms. Shackelford.
Second.
Second, Ms. Gallman. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Those are approved. Next item on the agenda, announcements. We have any announcements coming from any of our board members tonight? Let's start on this end. Mr. Cash?
I do not.
Mr. Greer?
No, ma'am, I'm good.
Mr. McBee?
The 410s that Dr. White mentioned as working, I just wanted to make a motion that they may work 5/8. I'm jealous. I hope everybody has a good summer.
Here a second.
The motion failed, Ms. Westmoreland. I'm sorry, she outweighed you. Ms. Shackelford?
I just appreciate all the work that has gone into the reports that we had for this meeting. I mean, you guys are really doing a fantastic job. And there was so much positive energy coming from the podium tonight, and we just have the right people on the bus. And I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Absolutely. Ms. Gallman?
I'll echo that and echo the information received about the leadership retreat y'all started today. I'm excited for the summer of reflection and refreshment and ready to start a new school year for next year. And I hope everyone has a happy and safe summer.
Mr. Wilkins?
I am good.
Well, we act like this is goodbye, but let us remember that we do have a board meeting next Monday.
It should be short.
Right, on June 9th. We will be here at 6 p.m. next Monday, so we'll save our summer goodbyes until then. So for tonight, I hope you have a wonderful night. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, Mr. Wilkins, second, Mr. McBee. All those in favor, we stand adjourned.